Hi, everyone. My name is Kelly. I have a twin brother, Matthew. I was born 3 minutes after he was born, but he has always been considered older than me. Since we were kids, Matthew has acted like a real big brother, guarding and protecting me from everything bad. Our mother was the first to notice our special connection. It happened for the first time when my brother and I were 3 months old and we were separated for a couple of hours. Both of us kept crying unceasingly all the time. We hardly ever parted and spent all our time together from then on. When we got a little older, we started to notice how close we were. We could even feel each other's pain. For example, when I fell down and hit myself, Matthew felt some pain in the place where it hurt me as well. We don't have to be together to know what is happening with the other one. Once, Matthew went to scout camp for a couple of weeks, and I stayed at home. I really didn't want to part with my brother even for a day, but it was a special camp only for those engaged in Thai boxing. A couple of days after my brother left, I had strange sensations in my knee. I told this to my mom right away, and she examined my knee, but didn't see anything wrong. On the same day, we turned to the family doctor. To our surprise, he didn't see anything wrong either. After going to the doctor, my mother even scolded me a little, saying that I came up with the knee pain and distracted her from important household chores. In the evening, the manager of the camp where my brother was called suddenly. He told us that Matthew had an injured knee and he was in the first aid post at that moment. The next morning, my parents and I got into the car and drove to the scout camp. When we arrived, my brother was in very poor condition. His knee was very swollen and he couldn't even walk. I was terribly sorry for him. Besides, it was very strange and weird that my knee hurt the day before, too. There were a huge number of such coincidences. Over time, no one doubted that my brother and I had a special connection. I had the hardest time when Matthew participated in the Thai boxing competitions. Not only was I very worried about my brother, but my whole body hurt on such days as well. Matthew was always physically fit and often won the fights, but he still received blows of varying degrees of severity, and it affected me too. Once, my brother was hit in the head during the competition. After that, I had a headache for 2 days. I was so mad at him. I even cussed Matthew out and asked him to quit the sport because I suffered from his fights too. But he continued, and Matthew had another competition, and all his opponents were weak, so my brother hoped that taking first place would be super easy. That day, I had a lesson in art school. I never went to Matthew's competitions because I felt sick watching stuff like that. Mom couldn't watch my brother's fights either, so my father was in charge of supporting Matthew in the fights. We studied the paintings by Claude Monet at the lesson. I sat at the easel and painted lilies when suddenly I felt sick and fainted. The teacher and other students were shocked. When I came around a few minutes later, I immediately thought that something bad had happened to my brother. I called my dad right away because I knew that he was somewhere near Matthew, but he didn't pick up the phone. When I called my mother at first, she didn't pick up either, and when she did, I heard her crying. She said nothing except that she and Dad were in the hospital. Mom asked me not to panic and to go home. I went home and I was very worried. I didn't understand what had happened, and minutes of waiting turned into hours. Dad finally arrived home. When I saw him, I didn't even recognize him at first. He had always been cheerful and smiling. At that moment, there wasn't a single emotion. He was pale as a ghost. He came in and sat on the sofa without saying a word. I was so scared that I was afraid to even ask him what had happened. A few minutes later, Dad started talking, still gazing into space. He said that something bad had happened to our Matthew. He was very strong, but luck wasn't on his side that day. During the fight, his opponent used a forbidden trick and hit my brother hard in the head. The blow caused a slight cerebral hemorrhage, and Matthew lapsed into a coma. After the word coma, it became hard for me to breathe, as if someone invisible was choking me. I sat on the sofa next to my dad and burst into tears. In a couple of minutes, my dad tried to calm me down, but I was devastated. After crying for a couple of hours, I became completely powerless and really just wanted to sleep. I fell asleep on the couch, resting my head on my dad's knees. At first, my sleep was leaden and troubled, but then I plunged into pleasant relaxation. I woke up in a couple of hours. By that time, my mom had already returned home. She was deadly pale, and her eyelids were swollen from crying. Mom said that Matthew's condition was stable, but he was in a coma, and none of the doctors knew when my brother would recover. They let us stay with my brother for very short periods of time at visiting hours. Suddenly, I remembered that I had a dream about my brother. He came to me in my dream and began to console me and said that he was very sorry for what had happened. Then he told me in detail what that fatal blow was like and how it hurt and how good he felt now. When I told my parents about the dream, my dad was speechless because he had been with Matthew all the time and had seen the fight with his own eyes. My dream was 100% true to life. Honestly, I was shocked by my dream, but it made me feel better. Matthew said that he now felt good and that it didn't hurt anymore. I was very glad to hear that. The next day, I went to visit my brother, my second half. When I came into his room, I saw a lot of tubes that were stuck into different parts of his body. If not for those tubes, one would have thought that my brother was sleeping very soundly. I took my brother's hand and gripped it tightly, but there was no response. People in a coma respond to gripping their hands only in movies. I felt so sad and lonely without Matthew. It felt like I lost my arm or my leg. In a couple of days, Matthew came to me in my dreams again. He asked me to tell our parents how much he loved and missed them. He also complained that it hurt when I gripped his hand in the hospital. When I told my parents about my dream about Matthew again, they simply burst into tears. They by no means doubted that my brother really came to me in my dream. Once, I complained to my brother that my pocket money wasn't enough to buy an upgraded version of the game that I had been a fan of for many years. My parents didn't want to give me money for such nonsense. Matthew felt sorry for me and told me where his stash of cash was. It was a small box under the floor in the attic, which I could have never found by myself. My brother cared for me even while he was in a coma. Half a year passed, and my brother was still in the coma, but my parents and I never stopped hoping that he would recover sooner or later. We believed that the day would surely come when Matthew would open his eyes and smile at us. We managed to stay calm and not to go crazy with grief, only thanks to firm faith. And then this bright moment came. It was a regular Tuesday with its usual routine. Early in the morning, my parents and I were about to leave the house, and I remembered that I wanted my brother to listen to his favorite band. I rushed to the bedroom, took a Walkman, headphones, and a CD. We arrived at the hospital a little early and were asked to wait. While we were sitting in the hallway, I put the CD in the Walkman and listened to the music. The music brought back memories, and I felt so sad. In my head, I asked Matthew to return to us as soon as possible because we missed each other so much. We came into his room, and my brother still lay there and didn't move at all. I came closer, put the headphones on him, and turned on the Walkman to the maximum volume. Suddenly, Matthew made a fist. My parents and I were shocked and breathless for a while. Before we had time to recover from this shock, my brother opened his eyes. He looked at us and smiled. Everything was exactly as I imagined. The first thing he asked was why the music in the Walkman was playing so loudly. After that, there were many tears, a long-term rehabilitation, and all kinds of examinations by the doctors, but it didn't really matter. The main thing is that Matthew was back with us again. By the way, my brother says that he remembers many dreams he had when he was in the coma. He remembers how he talked to me, what he asked me, and what he told me. This is just unbelievable. Do you have an invisible connection with any of your loved ones? Give your answers in the comments. If you liked my story, subscribe to the channel and like it.
When my bestie Emma and I were queuing at the canteen, I turned around a bit too fast and my head hit the face of Helen, the most popular girl in school. Oh my gosh! Did you know I'd spent the whole summer on this amazing nose? Before I could apologize, Helen threw the Starbucks cup she was holding in my face. Now we're even, Chewbacca! Everyone around me burst out laughing at the nickname Helen gave me, and that name still follows me to this day. Hi, I'm Maya. I'm 17 years old. Besides studying, Emma and I have never participated in any school activities, and for that, we were called two pathetic nerds. But at least everyone remembered Emma's full name, while none remembered mine. For the past year, the whole school only remembered my obnoxious nickname, Chewbacca, instead of Maya. Once, when I was preparing my books for the next class, two black and orange paintballs landed on me, making me look like Nemo. Helen and her friends were laughing hysterically at my misery. I was about to leave, but they blocked my way. Suddenly, a guy pulled my hand away from the crowd.
Are you okay?
That's Jake, my lifelong crush. When I said I was fine, Jake continued.
Are you a new student? I have never seen your face around here.
I was dumbfounded. I had been at this school for more than a year. Last year, Jake and I were even in the same assignment group for many times. Maybe I was just that unmemorable. Unable to bear that thought, I ran back to Emma with a tear-stained face. My bestie was startled when she saw me. Maya, it's not Halloween yet. Why are you dressing up so early? No time for jokes. You gotta help me get known. And so the campaign called Rebrand Maya was born. First, we learned that Kai, a guy on the basketball team, would throw a house party that night and invited everyone. Emma and I immediately put on our coolest outfits and came there at 9 p.m. I thought I wouldn't be able to fit into the party, but oh boy, how wrong I was. This party is sick! I danced crazily and even imitated Michael Jackson's dance and excited everyone. Then a boy invited me to play soda pong. I immediately agreed and quickly won 9 people in a row. Just one more win and I would be the school's soda pong champion. Emma kept cheering wildly for me. Maya! 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 The crowd cheered as well. Maya! 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 That made me extremely pleased, and I soon won the 10th round. When I left to get more soda, I ran into Jake. All of a sudden, Jake got me a can and suddenly exclaimed in a panic.
Oh shoot! Fire!
Fire? Where? I pulled Jake's hand to get him run away, but he burst out laughing.
There's a fire in my heart when I look at you.
Holy cow! I fell head over heels for his words. But out of nowhere, Helen the Evil appeared and shoved me on the shoulder. Hey, Chewbacca, first time I see you at a party. But don't you flirt with my Jake. Got it? Shut up, heck. How many times have I told you to stop calling me like that? We immediately burst into a fight. Suddenly, I felt everything around me spinning, and I threw up on Helen and laid flat on the ground. Partying too wildly and suddenly after so many years hiding in the nerd cave is certainly not a good idea. All I could remember was the obnoxious hack screaming before everything turned black. The next morning, the video of me vomiting on Helen quickly went viral, making the whole school know my real name. They called me the Immersion Queen for standing up to the school's mean queen bee. As Emma and I walked down the hallway, a bunch of guys asked for my number, but they all just reminded me of Jake. Suddenly, Jake approached me.
Hey, Maya, do you want to go bowling with me tonight?
Of course I agreed, and we had a great time that night. And somehow, the news that Jake, the school's heartthrob, and I were together made me even more famous. Awesome! My TikTok followers increased dramatically. Everyone said I was cool and complimented on everything I did. Once, while walking in the hallway, suddenly Henry, a fellow nerd, slammed into me, causing me to fall backwards. His thick glasses flew right into my face. I angrily yelled at him. Don't you have eyes, Henry? He kept apologizing to me, but it was not satisfying enough, so I broke his glasses. If you want my forgiveness, do the headstand pose and walk to the end of this corridor. The crowd around us cheered and my name was once again the highlight of the school forum.
Headstand! Headstand!
However, Emma ruined my moment. Maya, you're overdoing it. Come on, Em, it's fun. You've changed so much. I don't like it. So what? Can't you see that everyone has paid more attention to me now? I'm just trying to be recognized. With that, I ignored Emma and continued bullying the poor boy. After that day, my bestie and I didn't talk to each other anymore. Because I was so bored, I decided to throw a pool party. Suddenly, I saw Helen approaching Jake. I rushed to them. Helen, what do you want from Jake? He doesn't like you. Stay out of this, Chewbacca. Don't start acting all high and mighty just because you're a bit famous. I'll keep my eyes open to see the day you fall back to your misery. Her words extremely pissed me off. I lunged at her like a madman and shoved Helen straight into the pool. Help! I can't swim! Immediately, Jake jumped down and pulled Helen to the deck. After a while of panting heavily, she finally calmed down. Jake sighed in relief and then picked her up and left. I quickly ran after them. Jake, don't go! Why are you leaving with that mean hag?
Maya, take a good look at yourself. Are you any different from Helen? I can't understand why you've become like this.
With that, he coldly walked away, ignoring me with my world slowly falling apart. The next morning, someone filmed me frantically pushing Helen into the pool. All of my fans turned their backs on me, saying that I was just a fake and a bully. When I came to school, my locker was destroyed, accompanied by a series of notes like, "Leave our school, corrupted queen, Chewbacca Maya." Unbelievable! Just a few days ago, they were still worshipping me. When I got to the classroom, the whole class was buzzing about me. A bit of attention and she thinks she's the center of the world. Lame. She's like the second Helen now. I wish she would just drop out. Standing behind the door, I heard everything they said about me. I burst into tears and ran to the school rooftop. Unexpectedly, Emma was also there. I frantically apologized to Emma and explained that I just wanted more attention and didn't want to be the second Helen. Emma hugged me tightly and said, "Maya, trust me, it's better to stay unknown but kind and honest than to be famous but mean and evil. Just be you, okay? I'll always stay by your side." Turns out, I had been mistakenly looking for recognition from strangers while ignoring the only loyal friend who was there with me in the beginning. I hugged Emma and continued to cry. After that, we both made up. That same afternoon, I deactivated all of my social media accounts and came back to my usual nerdy routine. A week later, I asked Emma to come over. She just opened the door when... Surprise! I held the birthday cake in front of Emma and said, "Happy birthday, Emma! I'm so sorry I was busy throwing that stupid party that I forgot your birthday." Luckily, Emma happily accepted my apology party.